Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast presented by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Hit the QR code that you see here on the screen or follow the link you see in the description of the podcast. Raptors win tonight 126-96 over the Charlotte Hornets. That concludes the home game portion of the 2024-2025 Raptors season. The Raptors will play two more games this weekend. They will play against the Dallas Mavericks on Friday and then the San Antonio Spurs on Sunday. That will be it for the year because the Toronto Raptors obviously are not going to the play-in or the playoffs. But at least tonight, the Raptors were able to send it off in good fashion, finishing at home. To be fair, I don't think that there was any way the Raptors were going to lose a game like this where, you know, they're playing against a team that, I'm not even kidding when I say this, they're using Jusuf Nurkic as if he was Nikola Jokic in the Charlotte Hornets offense. And at one point, and this part will probably be the part that I will always remember from this one game, but at one point in the first half, the Charlotte Hornets are on the fast break, and one of their guards tried to throw a lob to Taj Gibson. And mind you, Taj Gibson is now wearing number 67 on the Charlotte Hornets of all teams. Most fans in the NBA would be very hard-pressed to know that the Charlotte Hornets are indeed the team that is employing Taj Gibson. And of course, Taj Gibson was around since the Derrick Rose era. He was around playing with like Nate Robinson. He was around playing with like Joakim Noah and Luol Deng. Joakim Noah and those guys are obviously all gone. Taj Gibson's still around. He's 39 years old, and they were trying to throw a lob to the 39-year-old. Needless to say, that play did not connect, and many plays did not connect as the Raptors were able to beat the Charlotte Hornets up and down the court. Apologies first off to people who typically watch post-game live. As I explained after our last show, I actually initially planned to not do this one at all, just considering the fact that, it's Raptors Hornets, and quite frankly, how many people really need takeaways from a game like this. But my thinking was, I just wanted to stick around for the whole experience. I think for me, as much as the season can be a drag with the losing and everything like that, and certainly it's quite a long season. Like I was down at practice yesterday, and RJ before he began the interview was like, when's our last game? Sunday, man. So I'm like, all right, so you know what I mean? It's 1, 2, 3 Cancun for everybody, players and fans and media included. But it's always a game that I want to stay till the very end. I want to be able to hang out and say goodbye to people. There's a lot of people in the arena that I feel really close to, whether that's fellow media members or the players or some of the coaches or the team staffers. I mean, even team security. A lot of fans at the building who I was able to run into today. Just a lot of friends who I probably won't see, some of them probably until the start of next season, which is going to be like 6 months from now. You know what I mean? October is going to be a long ways away, and I won't be in Scotiabank for quite a while to see some of these people. So I wanted to stick around and just catch post-game, catch the scenes afterwards. And, of course, that meant that we were going to either delay or, in this case, well, I guess we delayed, but in this case, obviously, basically going to go solo here and just give you the thoughts of the game. So I appreciate people's patience because typically, obviously, we would go live for the last two home games or the last two games of the season. We will be going live after the game, but this one I really want to take in the scenes because, I will miss this. I put so much of my time into this. I think that that's not just because this is my job. I mean, this is kind of like the actual like perspective and passion that I truly feel. And I do get emotional when I see the last game of the season, no matter what context it is, whether that's after a playoff run, whether that's after a championship run, whether that's after a season like this where the Raptors had no chance to go to the playoffs basically from like the start of the season onward. And we've been watching developmental ball, and we're watching, Taj Gibson and Jusuf Nurkic, and the Raptors putting out, a myriad of guys from the G League. It doesn't really matter what the context is. This thing really is special, man. And it was a great chance to, catch up with a lot of people and just say goodbye for the summer and just have a good time with it. So yeah, like the game tonight, I want to give you a couple of takeaways that I saw from the last home game of the season here. Yeah, I think number one, like the big story here tonight was that the Raptors once again got really nice contributions from the young players. Tonight they actually rested Jamal Shed. Jacoby Walter picked up a minor injury, and so he wasn't available here tonight either. Those have been the two rookies who have been the most impressive for the Raptors on the season. But right behind him is a guy like Jonathan Mogbo, who tonight records the first triple-double of his career. 17 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 steals in 38 minutes for Jonathan Mogbo. You know, I didn't even realize what was happening, but the whole bench for the Raptors somehow realized. You heard this like big eruption of cheers, and it was really just from the Raptors bench. When Mogbo had recorded his 10th rebound, which completed the triple-double for him, and you could just tell how happy he was, how happy the players were. You know, he got subbed off after that timeout. You know, he got celebrated and mobbed by the whole bench there. Leading the charge, obviously, is Scottie Barnes, who has been friends with Jonathan Mogbo since, I think, the 6th grade. You know, they've literally are childhood friends, and you know, his story about him and Jonathan Mogbo playing together is very similar to RJ and playing with AJ Lawson. RJ Barrett and AJ Lawson, by the way, their whole families were down there at Scotiabank Arena, as they typically are. And it's really cool to be able to have these guys from, you know, just here, you know, play for the team. It's a dream for RJ. It's a dream for AJ Lawson. And of course, like, in a different way, even though they're not from here, they're from Florida, but like it's the same thing for Mogbo and Scottie, the way that they've been able to have each other for this season. And yeah, man, Mogbo was great. 17, 10, 11, and 3 steals on the night. You know, I think there's been more conversation about him of late. He's been playing quite well. I thought he played well in the Brooklyn Nets game as well. Certainly some of these games, you know, you question, like, you know, what's the level of competition? But at the same time, I don't want to be cynical. I think for me, what's really, you know, impressive is the progression that a guy like Jonathan has gone through on this course of the season. I mean, in his last year of college, and pretty much in his 4 years of college, what he did was he was a small ball 5. You know, he played in a conference that wasn't particularly competitive, and he got drafted as the 31st pick. And, you know, after, you know, 4 years, you know, he's like 22, 23 right now, right? So, you know, I think that the role that he played in college was going to be very different than the role that he played in the NBA. The Raptors have been trying to not just play him as a small ball center where he's more comfortable, but also play him as a wing. And I think that, you know, seeing the maturation of his game over the course of the season, one thing you immediately notice is that, like, in college, he just never shot jumpers. He not even mid-range, but especially not from 3. He was not a three-point shooter. He was a guy who led the nation in dunks in his last year. He was a guy who played around the rim. He played as a connective role in terms of, like, rolling to the basket and making extra passes and, you know, pretty good reads. You know, we've seen that here on the course of the season, the way he's been able to identify passes. I mean, tonight he had 11 assists. That's nothing to scoff at, man. Like, no matter what the competition is, he's made the right read a lot in this season. So that's the role. But this year they've really pushed him to be more of a wing. And I think maybe looking forward into his career, given the fact that, you know, he's 6'7", 6'8", you know, with long arms, but he's skinnier. It's like, how do you necessarily envision him playing as a small ball center? And I feel like it opens his game up so much more if he can be both a small ball center at times, but also a wing in different moments. And a lot of that requires him to get the 3-point shot down and just the outside jumper down. And I still remember seeing him for the first time in Summer League, you know, taking in sort of like the way he shot the ball, his shooting form, you know, getting a chance to see that development even continue into training camp, into preseason, and into the start of the season, where he played quite a bit at the start of the year because of the injuries, especially with a guy like Scottie Barnes going down. He was the only other forward really who could slot in. And so you saw a lot of Mogbo playing. You saw him playing some center as well. But the improvement in his 3-point shot, I think, over the course of the season has been quite notable. I mean, I think Darko praised him after the game, calling him one of the hardest workers on the team. He basically says that there's nothing really to it. You just got to shoot 1,000 shots a day, every day for the entire offseason, and we'll see sort of where the progress continues to go. But I think you're already seeing some of the progress. Number one, he's gone from a guy who really just would not shoot the 3. In fact, he would turn down a lot of shots at the 3, and then he would drive to the basket, and sometimes he would put up the floater. And it just wasn't really playing into his offensive strengths, because nobody necessarily wants a 6'8" guy who's largely not shooting and also shooting mostly floaters. That's not a very effective offensive player, especially as a scorer. Now, granted, he was able to contribute in other ways, like, you know, making passes, like getting offensive rebounds, but he needed to sort of expand and grow. That's a very normal thing for a rookie. And I think that over the course of the season, whether that was down in the G League or when he's since been called back, he's been more willing to shoot the three. In fact, even watching things like warmups, and of course, like, this is like the drinking game you could have for a show like this, because I love mentioning what I saw in warmups, but he has really improved his shooting efficiency and his shooting consistency in warmups. The form looks more repeatable. One thing I really noticed today was, the way he's put a special placement on like how he's positioning his thumb on his left hand. He's a right-handed shooter, so he's shooting obviously with the right hand, but the left hand is the guide hand. He's throwing his thumb all the way back so that it's not like deflecting or sort of like, I guess, impeding the trajectory of the shot in any way. I think it was pretty notable. And I guess unless you really see it up close for yourself, you're probably not going to see it. But like small things like that, where he's picked up these little habits over the course of the year, he's gotten the shot smoother. Again, the consistency's there. He's hitting a bigger share of them. And I think that long term, that's going to be a big make or break skill. But I think the other thing he mentioned post game too was just like how much he has been urged to just dunk everything. That's something that Darko's been on him about, was just finish with force, finish with physicality. And if he's going to play, as a small ball center, that doesn't mean he has to play small. That doesn't mean he has to pull up for the little flush floaters and, stuff like that. I mean, maybe eventually that finesse game comes to him as well. But first and foremost, he needs to, like, if he's going to play at the rim, like, dunk through people, draw fouls, like play with physicality, play with force. And, I think that tonight you saw several dunks from him. But I think the other thing too is just he's had the secondary skills being like his defensive ability. We've seen early in the season the moments where he's been able to switch on to tougher defensive assignments. He's done well in those moments. There were moments where he had to guard like a Harden, moments where he had to guard like a Luka, moments where he had to guard like a KD. Like, he didn't look bad in terms of like having to switch out and guard different positions. And then I think the rebounding has been a solid for him all season. And then I think the passing, tonight he certainly was able to find a lot of good ones, but those reads were always there for him. I think it was really just about finding one or two things that he can do consistently on the court offensively, and more than anything else, I think his attitude's been really positive too. I think that it's really reflective of how much his teammates are really happy for him, and also just generally the overall mood of the team. Like, this has been a season where, yes, the Raptors have lost 50 plus games, but like, they are still really together. They're still really rooting for each other. They're still like, you don't really notice like a frustration with the team. And more than anything else, like, you see how much these guys are just excited to get together and improve, and just play as a group, play as a team, share the ball. Tonight they had 37 assists. Like, they played to their system, they stick to it, and I think over the course of the season we've seen that improvement in a meaningful way with this group. So I was really happy for him. Obviously, Mogbo got the chain tonight, but seriously, he was just one of many really good performances tonight. I think, obviously this is a little late in the season, but we saw Scottie knock down some threes, which was nice. I mean, tonight, a lot of possessions where he was, matched up against Jusuf Nurkic. Nurkic's not going to try to run around and guard Scottie. And Scottie, I thought tonight, was able to knock down 3 of 5 from 3. A lot of those were pull-up threes. Against a guy like Nurkic who was playing off of him. You also seen Scottie, go to the mid-range a couple times. But, just generally speaking, I thought he had a pretty good game. I thought in the moments where the Raptors needed to create that separation and get more of an advantage against a team like Hornets, like, I thought Scottie was able to lead that push to start the second half. That really got the Raptors a lot of momentum to close the game strong. 17 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists for him. RJ and Scottie also, RJ and Emmanuel also played. Those guys primarily focused on the threes, and I think that the Raptors shot the three pretty well tonight. 19 of 52 is a pretty good percentage for what the Raptors do. It's certainly a higher volume than what the Raptors typically play with, but I thought that they hit a higher level even when the second unit guys came in. For me, I'm not even sure how the roster spots are going to shake out. The Raptors certainly have lots of pieces already. I think this year, more than anything else, the story of the season was how much depth the Raptors added, largely through the draft. I mean, when you go into a year that, you come out the draft and you have 4, maybe potentially 5, depending on what happens with Always Shamshe, but at least you have 4 guys in Jamison Battle and Jonathan Mogbo and Jamal Shed, Jacoby Walter, 4 rookies who are able to be positive contributors, and we've already seen that this year, and we're hoping to see them take a step forward next year as well. That's adding a lot of depth to your roster, in addition to some of the extra pieces that you picked up along the way. And all of a sudden, you look at it and you're like, well, how many of these guys can you actually keep? How much of turnover is there going to be year over year? I feel like this is going to be a pretty stable summer for the Raptors in terms of the player personnel movement and things like that. So, when you're really looking at some of these guys who have played big roles down the stretch, how many of them are actually going to, play in a big role? How many of them are you going to keep going forward? And you're looking at guys like Cole Swider. You're looking at guys like AJ Lawson, Jared Rhoden. These guys who are kind of competing with each other potentially for one final spot in the Raptors next year, or maybe they get another chance elsewhere. Ultimately, I think all of them have showcased their skills. I think we've seen AJ the most. AJ, I thought tonight, banged in 2 threes right away. I thought he played with hustle, energy, 14.6 rebounds, 7 assists. For him is also a pretty good game. Tonight, I was probably most impressed with Jared Rhoden. It feels like he has a physical advantage. Probably between the three of those guys, he's probably the best athlete. He's strong. He goes to the basket. Kind of shaped like Ochai, to be honest. But he's able to knock down the threes as well. 3 of 5 from 3. Finished a couple plays in transition. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists for him. And even Cole Swider, who didn't get a lot of points off tonight, but I think he takes the right shots. I think he doesn't really take anything off the table, really. Defensively, haven't necessarily seen enough to really judge whether or not he's a strong defender or weak defender or somewhere in between. But certainly he's a guy who takes the right shots. I don't ever see him take bad shots, for example. So there's going to be competition there. Honestly, there's a real chance none of them are back, just based on sort of what the Raptors could potentially do at the draft if they pick up anybody else. And of course, there's other roster decisions, right? We'll probably get into this more in the offseason, but Garrett Temple, right? As I previously told you guys on the show, I talked to Garrett earlier this year. I think it was in Philadelphia, so this was in February. And I did ask him, what are your plans? Do you want to play one more? And he basically told me he wants to play one more. So hopefully the Raptors keep him around. Darko was asked, do you want to keep Garrett Temple around next year? And he's just simply answered yes. And he laughed at it, but he was like, yeah, of course. You know what I mean? So I think that especially if there's mutual interest, I feel like bringing him back feels like something that's just been a really positive presence for the team. And I can't imagine getting more production possibly out of a 15th man spot, basically. And then I think the other question is a guy like Chris Boucher back, right? I think that, based on the injury report that we saw tonight, and certainly lots of players were out, and based on the fact that, just for sentimental reasons, it is the last home game of the season. And people were wondering, Chris, who has not played in 2 months now, dating back to February, is he going to get a chance to see the court at all? Of course, we've seen the Raptors in the second half of the season, especially post All-Star break. They've taken a strong approach towards resting healthy players. We've seen quite a bit of that over the course of the season here. We've seen that with RJ, with IQ. We've seen that with Ochai, with Jakob. That's been a pretty steadying presence. But I think you've also seen that when Darko was asked about Chris Boucher and his availability, he's consistently said that, look, we know what Chris is, and we want to give some more chances to the younger guys to play. Having said that, though, I don't think that there's a guarantee that he's back, and I've seen maybe the theory floated around that there's a handshake deal or anything like that. I can't confirm that, and I haven't really had any thoughts on whether or not. I just haven't heard anything like that. But at the same time, I have seen also the opposite reaction of why don't we give Chris at least some time, especially now, right? If he's going into free agency and Chris has been here 8 seasons, and I brought this up before, but in 8 seasons, Chris has actually played more games as a Toronto Raptor than Vince Carter has. Just take that in, man. He's played more games as a Raptor than Vince Carter. It's just an incredible story, and I think that people have certainly fallen in love with Chris, rightfully so. He's a player who we're fans of on this show as well. He's always had time for us, and there's been a generosity back and forth, especially in the last couple of years. But I think it's pretty easy to see why people admire him. People see him as somebody who fought his way up. His story is incredible. He joined the Raptors on a 2-way contract, joined the Raptors and earned that, contract to getting converted, then signing, a 2-year deal, and then signing a 3-year deal, and then signing another 3-year deal. And now all of a sudden you look at it, it's he's the longest serving tenure Raptor. He's the only player who had any connection to 2019 in the championship run. When you look up there in the arena and you see that banner with all the names written on the whole banner, Boucher is the only one still in the building. Everyone else is gone. And I guess that's how time works. That's eventually what's going to happen with everybody. But I think there is a sentimental reason to sort of admire Chris. I think in the moments that we've seen Chris this season, we've seen him make an impact, the Cleveland game, the New York game where he only played 2 minutes but got 14 points. That led to the Cleveland game the night after. The fourth quarter they had against Golden State, which, single-handedly got them to win that night at home. He's had so many of these performances, where the only fault you could really say is that Chris has come in and affected winning. And in a season where the Raptors don't particularly want winning because of the lottery odds and everything like that, that's really the only fault that he's had. But, he should be absolutely praised for how much of a professional he's been all season, how much he's been ready to play at a moment's notice. I actually, it was kind of funny in that sense that, when he was asked before the game, Darko was asked about, is Chris going to play tonight? And, if not, why not? His answer was that, it didn't really feel fair, quote, fair to Chris to play him after such a long time off, which I feel like it's like, come on, man. I mean, Chris, the one thing you could say about Chris is that he's ready to hoop at any given moment. But nevertheless, I do wonder if he's actually going to be back next season. I think that, certainly, again, it really just depends. I mean, he's not exactly the priority here. The priority is going to be what the Raptors do in the draft, what the Raptors do potentially with trades, and ultimately, what direction they want to go in terms of, is there a younger player that they want to take a look at. But Chris has really served his time really well here in Toronto, and I really hope that tonight wasn't the last chance for him to play at home, because 8 years is a long time, man. The guy joined the team in 2018. 8 seasons is nothing to be, he should be really proud. Chris should be of his time as a Raptor. I think is it 8 seasons or 7 seasons? It might be 7 seasons, but regardless, like he's done well, and hopefully tonight wasn't his last chance to play at home. Who knows? Maybe there's 2 more games left in the season. Maybe there is a chance to give him some minutes at some point. But that's kind of it. I mean, I think more than anything else in terms of the games, I think for me, again, I'm always very sentimental over the last game of the season. I think that, like I mentioned, this thing is really important to me, and for me, I just want to be able to, at least show appreciation to like the opportunity to cover this team. I mean, this has been, it is a dream job of mine. It is a dream that I've been able to realize, to be able to cover this team for the last, 7-8 years here. I think I feel really connected to a lot of the parts of the program, not just like the players. Obviously, that's probably the pieces that you develop the most attachment to, but even the people around the game. Like, I thought tonight it was a really nice thing for the Raptors to do their final pair of tributes tonight. In terms of their 30th anniversary, first they gave a video tribute to the Raptor, and I won't disclose who is in that Raptor suit. That person's identity is quite well hidden, and they intend to keep it as such. But, anybody who works at a Raptors game, anybody who's been around the arena for the last 30 years, they've run into this person, and it's kind of impossible to miss them. They're bouncing around, even when they don't have the costume suit on. They're bouncing around. And of course, like, the Raptor he's been with the team since he was, like the first year of the franchise. If you actually read Alex's book, Prehistoric, in stores now, where he covers the history of the Toronto Raptors, he actually has a pretty good story of sort of like how the Raptors actually went about hiring their first ever mascot, and he was a 21-year-old acrobat or gymnast, one of those two, but basically very athletic person. And the personality that he's been able to bring through a character, I know it's just a mascot, but at the same time, like, there's just so many little moments of creativity. I think, we're talking about 30 years of entertaining people and creating gags and bringing, joy to people. I mean, even when we were out this past weekend, me and Jerome were at the Tangerine layup, event where we were able to hand out lots of tickets, and hopefully, people were able to go courtesy of Tangerine. They handed out 150 pairs of tickets, which is kind of incredible. That's 300 tickets. All right. That's like a whole section. But yeah, in the rain on Saturday, the Raptor showed up. At one point, the Raptor got bit by a dog, which was pretty incredible. I suppose being in a suit can confuse, pets and stuff like that. But like, you just got to think about like how many games and how many events and how many countries and how many situations that he's been in, and this ability to entertain people, not only in the bigger scale and the more memorable moments, like, he used to rollerblade down and like crash down the stairs, you know what I mean? Or, the gigantic Raptor, or, all the little, skits and little gags and little moments that went viral. Like, when the Raptor jumped up in the Tampa season, I remember, not Tampa season, the post-COVID season, where sometimes the arena would still be empty. And I remember it was basically empty, like no fans, but the players were in there and media were allowed to go. And I remember going one time and I saw at an opportunity where, like he jumped up and Devin Booker was there and Devin Booker was like complaining about the free throw. It was just like small moments like that. There's just so many moments where he's been so entertaining, and I really like the fact that the Raptors actually showed love to their beloved mascot. He's right up there with anybody else that has done this business in any sport. So that was really cool. Someone else who's been there since day one is Herbie Kuhn. Herbie is the in-arena PA announcer. Certainly on this show, whether it's like honestly here or Raptor show, even back when me and Alex used to do Run It Back at Yahoo, we used to just joke about we used to joke about Herbie's pronunciations. Sometimes he would really put a lot into them. My favorite over the years has been Dennis Schroeder. He would always pronounce like he would pronounce Dennis Schroeder in the way that it should be pronounced. But I think that that was something that always could have stood out. But I think over the time I've realized that especially seeing and being around the game, before the game, hours before the game, just how many players come up and show love to Herbie. He's one of those guys where any former player, a lot of visiting players, when they come through, they always, show love to him. I think that he's, again, another really positive presence that's been with the Raptors for 30 years. And, you see his enthusiasm come through, obviously, on the microphone. That's part of his job is to do that. But there's just something naturally positive and infectious about his personality. And I think that, again, if you've been to any Raptor game, you've heard Herbie's calls, you've heard some of the more memorable ones. I remember one time after the Raptors 30th, but after the Raptors 30-point comeback against the Dallas Mavericks. This was the greatest comeback in franchise history. This was Kyle Lowry leading the charge with a guy like Chris Boucher. Big shouts to Chris. It was one of his best moments too as a Raptor. Kyle, Chris, Rondae Hollis Jefferson, Terrence Davis, Malcolm Miller was the lineup out there, and they launched a 30-point comeback. This is 2020. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. You should, at least, right? And I just remember after the Raptors got the win that night, it was in Scotiabank Arena. I just remember because it was I think just after Christmas, maybe December 28th or 29th, that range. And I remember Herbie just yelling into the microphone, "Raptor fans, do you believe in miracles?" I was like, oh man, that was really cool. That was really, really cool. And he's had so many of these moments where, he's just narrated 30 years of history with the Raptors. He's called so many players introductions. If you go back to first ever game, he's calling introductions for the players. That's history right there. And I feel like, especially because when you think of something like a 30th anniversary, that's a long time, right? A lot of people are going to come and go. This is a job ultimately for a lot of people. Some people get laid off. Some people ultimately move on. It's 30 years. Very few people get to do this job for 30 years. But at the same time, I also think about what kind of what actually lasts, what actually represents a team's culture, what actually carries those traditions forward. And I feel like it's these people. And it's becoming more rare, of course, right? Because again, 30 years is a long time to work, and you'd have to be pretty young to join the Raptors at that time to still be doing it now. But having gotten to know some of these people, they're never nearly as famous as the former players or former coaches. They're not even as famous like the media, because we're the ones that choose to be sort of in front of the camera or in front of the microphone or whatever. But if you come to Raptor games, I feel like those guys add more to your experience than almost anything else. And so I thought that was a really sweet moment by the Raptors to show love to the Raptor and show love to Herbie as well. I think, again, the 30th anniversary has been really well done, and they've gotten a chance to tell the stories and show love to so many members of, just the organization that have made it as great as, they can possibly make it. So that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I will miss it. I will certainly miss it. And, it is a part of the year that every time I look at it for the last time and I look at it and I'm like, there's not going to be another home game here for the Raptors until October. 6 months is a long time, man. And I'm looking forward to the summer for sure. Obviously, we worked pretty hard this season to cover every game, and we will continue to do so. But and we'll have lots of coverage in the offseason too. Don't get me wrong. The draft, free agency, summer league, we'll be at those things. But I mean, nothing really beats the games. That thrill of even that routine of taking all the notes that I go and before the game and getting the chance to talk to people and getting a chance after the game to talk to you guys here. Like it's something I really hold dear all the time. So we are going to go take some of your questions, but first we wanted to let you know that the Hello and Welcome podcast is proudly presented by Tangerine, and Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, an official partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, as we mentioned previously, Tangerine was able to hand out 150 pairs of tickets. Actually, Tangerine also handed out a pair of season tickets for next year because somebody actually hit a half-court shot for season tickets for next season. So that is such a cool thing. And certainly that is like, I mean, that's awesome, bro. Like that's not only to have that moment to hit a half-court shot in front of all these fans, but to actually win season tickets. And we wanted to let you know that obviously Tangerine put on the Tangerine layup, and we were out there last weekend. And super producer Jerome Chang actually put together a highlight video from that event. So we wanted to show you that before we get to your questions in the Tangerine
fans. How easy should your banking be? That's a question that Tangerine asked at the Tangerine layup at Stacked Market. Hello and welcome. Visited Stacked to see if fans learn banking with Tangerine is as easy as finishing a layup on a 3-foot-high net with an oversized rim. They crossed over, shot, laid up, and dunked their way to Raptors prizes, from hats to jerseys and even tickets. They also found out what it would be like to bank elsewhere with a 25-foot-tall impossible shot. Not everyone can make the impossible look easy like Raptors favorite Matt Bonner. Take it from us. You want your banking to be a layup.
Oh no. I'm gonna be honest, I've tried this like 20 times now.
Anyway, it was a really fun Sunday afternoon, and shout out Tangerine, the Raptors, and all the fans that pulled up to make their Tangerine layup.
There you go. So it's time now for the Tangerine fan inbox, and we will get to some of your questions. I'm just going solo here, so I'm just trying to scroll through the questions right now. If you want to ask a couple more here, I'll probably see them more live, but we'll get to them right now. First one from Michael Austin. Question for Will. How are you and the guys going to kick off this offseason? Will you guys be joining everyone in Cancun or hitting up Old Town in Montreal? Another HK trip, maybe? So I think last year, especially considering the fact that, I had the idea last year to, kind of knew that was going to be the last Raptors show season for me and Alex at Sportsnet. And we had planned, obviously, to go independent and launch this, which, by the way, I mean, I think, especially reflecting back on it, like a year after, well, not a year, but almost a year after launching it, like I feel really proud of sort of how this thing's gone. I think people don't necessarily know this, and even I don't necessarily know this all the time in terms of identifying this feeling, but I always feel like I need to justify like what I did and the show, and making it as good as possible and making it bigger and better than ever, because how could you leave an institution like that, like Sportsnet, like the opportunity like that, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and hopefully I haven't put the same pressure as much on Jerome and Alex, because I don't feel like they should have to hold my anxieties, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that this thing has been successful. And I think that more than anything else, like the Raptors season is what it is, but I've been so proud to like actually bring together this community and change the format in certain ways where you notice this year we've gone live a lot, we've invested a lot in the YouTube audience. I think this back and forth dialogue has been really fun. We've been able to showcase a lot more of our personalities. Not that like that was ever anything that Sportsnet was like, you can't do this or anything like that. I mean, we've actually had ultimate creative freedom there, and that's something that was never really an issue. And so, I want to be clear that my goal was to sort of like, I just wanted to do this independently. But I've actually it was kind of an anxiety-inducing season to sort of like jump off and sort of like see where we will land. And I think this year, especially with all the help from the Nation Network, and especially most importantly with Jerome and Alex, like the amount of work that's been put into this, when I reflect back on it, like we were out in summer league, we were out in a training camp, we joined the team in LA when the Raptors played the Lakers and the Clippers. We were in Atlanta for the Raptors 2 games win over Atlanta. I remember teasing Bobby after that game, being like, "Yo, man, the tank is dead. I feel like I feel like that tank is not working right now." I'm not gonna say what he said. I'll just say what I said. But, recently, obviously going to Philadelphia and then going to All-Star as well. Like, I mean, it's been such a trip. It's been so rewarding too, and most importantly, like we've been able to, again, continue the community and really foster it. So I feel really proud of and to be part of it. I guess what I'm saying is because last year, because we knew that was coming up, like we had planned essentially this trip to go to Hong Kong with a whole bunch of friends, and Hong Kong, Shanghai, Guangzhou. Like if you ever get a chance to go to China, it's actually like pretty difficult to go. Quite frankly, you have to get a visa, and it's a whole process. But and it's obviously a long way to go. But it was an unforgettable trip. It was truly one of those experiences that you really want to have. And really deepen some of your friendships, and that was really fun. This year, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there's gonna be a 1, 2, 3 Cancun moment for any of us. I think that we're gonna continue to sort of put on more events, put on more shows. We'll cover the playoffs as you typically would see from us. I think there's probably a chance to maybe go live after some games too, especially like let's say like a big game 7 and everyone's watching, and afterwards you might just sit around and talk about it. I mean, we're fans first and foremost. Like we'll be there watching these games, and I think by the playoff time, so I think we'll get Alex and Jerome to like basketball again by the time it comes to the playoffs. But yeah, we'll hang out, we'll banter. I think more than anything else, there's gonna be the draft coming up. We're gonna try to give you as much draft content as possible. Free agency coming up, and then of course it rolls around the summer league once again next in the summer, and that's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna look forward to seeing whoever the Raptors end up picking. Hopefully it's number 1. Hopefully it's Cooper Flag. I mean, can you imagine the Raptors in summer league with Cooper Flag on ESPN? I mean, that would be crazy. But yeah, hopefully that's sort of how it goes, but we'll be around all summer, and I think eventually we'll probably wind down, if I had to guess, in August, which is kind of a long time from now, but at the same time I still feel really energized. And again, like going back to the original point, I still feel incredibly driven to make sure this thing is as successful as possible. But of course, that's not really up to me. That's really up to the response from the audience, and I feel like that for me is something I will never ever take for granted. And that's why, like, even after a game like today, I was like, we might just not do the React Pod. And I'm like, what am I doing? I got to do a React Pod for every game. You know what I mean? That's the promise that we give you. You know what I mean? We're talking about like summer league, preseason, and now, like, by the end of the year, we'll have done probably 90, 95 React Pods. So that's what we do over here, man. That's what we do over here. Yeah, we rewatch things, of course. Obviously, we're going to go to watch Oasis. Oasis concert is end of August, so that'll be really fun. But, yeah, I mean, you'll hear about our trips, of course. We always deliver the banter pod for that exact reason. Another one here from Caleb. I can only speak for myself, but I suspect a lot of us come here for the community as much as the analysis. I appreciate the work so much. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Seriously, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of like super analyst that's going to have all the answers, and I want you guys to listen to me drone on and sort of like give you insights that you haven't seen. I mean, quite frankly, like I'm just watching the basketball game like you guys, like I take some notes, I try to bring you some reporting, but ultimately, we're just here to talk basketball. And I think even beyond just appreciating basketball and things like that, I think it's like appreciating the opportunities to actually connect and share time over something that's really fun and interesting. So yeah, I really like this idea that, we've been doing this whole year about streaming and getting a chance to have everyone contribute and discuss their thoughts on the game. Honestly, most times I gotta say, especially for an internet forum, most times it's actually quite positive. I have to say, it really is quite positive. People are generally not in here yelling at each other, using any profanities. Certainly, we have people obviously looking at the chat, so if people do go too crazy, we put them on timeout or we ban them or whatever. But like that's really happened like maybe 2 or 3 times all season. Seriously. So big shouts to all of you guys for being able to interact and have fun and be positive. I mean, at one point we were just pulling out books. Like when the season got really bad and all of a sudden we're just going to talk about what books we read. I mean, at that point it was just like, we kind of embraced the silliness, and I appreciate that people have been able to roll with it. So that's pretty fun. That's been pretty fun. Another one here, this one from Rue Els. Boucher is our Haslam. Keep him, plus he still produces. Look, I agree with you. I think that like Chris has certainly, as Darko, to borrow a line from Darko, Chris is an ultimate professional. And, I think he stayed ready in the moments that he's been called upon, which has been rare this season. But when he's been called upon, he produces. I think that there's still like lots of his game that, factors in his size, his athleticism. Even though he's 31, 32, he doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like he's still very young, very spry. Maybe that's because he came late to basketball, but he still is able to get up there for blocks. He's still able to the rebound, still able to change into the court, play fast, block some threes, knock down some threes of his own as well. I think he's done well in that respect. And I think that, there's a growth element to his game in terms of being more of a veteran presence to the rest of the guys. Of course, you don't want infinite veterans on your team. I think that Garrett certainly got that role and that corner really locked down. But I mean, Chris can still play, man. I think that more than anything else, Chris can still play. And I think that, if the Raptors can upgrade from Chris, of course, that's something that you got to look at. We're talking about competitive sports. You're always trying to upgrade your roster. But at the same time, I mean, I don't want to just see him walk away for nothing, especially even without a goodbye. You know what I mean? Even a chance to play one last game, if that is one last game at home, would have been really cool. Because, again, the guy's been here for a long time. Like I don't want to just take that moment and that time for granted because people are important for me, man. People really are important for me. So another question here, this one from Kyle. Question, Will, has the Raptors tanking strategy this season helped with the culture? Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know what effect it's actually really had on the culture. I certainly don't see a lot of players just like hanging around and being upset. I think when we talk about the quote unquote vibes of the team, I think that it's certainly better than previous seasons. I think that if you look at the recent practice interview, the Raptors had practice on Tuesday, and I was there for that. You just look at the mood that RJ was in. You look at the mood that Scottie was in, the mood that Darko was in. I think that these guys have actually, the leaders of the team, have really done a great job of sort of keeping things together and connected. I mean, again, the Raptors at one point in the season were 8-31. Like that's pretty bad, man. That's not easy. Like there were injuries, there were a lot of close games, there were some blowouts in there. They got some pretty bad blowouts. Like they gave up the most points they've ever given up in a home game ever, or in any game ever this season. I think there was like 155 or something like that. They had like a crazy lopsided loss. Like the lows this season were quite low, and we were there for them, right? But the team never really turned on itself. The team never really, played more selfishly. I think the team really embraced this identity. And I think that, ironically, that's what kind of ruined the tank in a sense, because they've actually scratched out wins by developing and sticking to good habits and sticking with each other. But, like, they bounced back, man. And they didn't bounce back in a way that, like, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, this is not a team that, it was anywhere close to the playoffs. And even if they made the playoffs or play in, they weren't going to contest for anything. But that's not important. I think for me, it's like this year is about setting the foundations. They're really trying to embrace and build. And I think that for me, when I look back at this year, I'm going to look at it as a positive year because of the fact that we've added Rhoden Ingram, because of the fact that we added 4 rookies that I genuinely like all of those guys. And I feel like all of those guys, to varying degrees, can contribute in the future. I think we've seen the improvements for guys like Grady and guys like Ochai and, these other pieces from last year where we got them last year, but we didn't really know what they could do. And this year we saw a better chance of it. And I think it's like the hard thing is making it all work together. You know what I mean? I think there's only one basketball. I think that when you take away minutes and opportunities from other guys, are they still going to be able to be happy? Are they still going to be able to be producing? Are they going to be able to gel together? Is it going to be more than the sum of its parts? But at the same time, I feel reasonably confident. I really do. And, this is by no means like a finished product. This is not a championship product. It's nowhere close to those things that we've seen in the past, but I think they're building something good here. And I really do think that this year was a positive. I actually really liked one thing that Chris Boucher, or not Chris Boucher, the one thing that Bobby Webster had said on the broadcast. Bobby sat down for a short interview that they aired on TSN during the game. And he was asked about Scottie Barnes in his assessment this season. Of course, like we've, another drinking game. How many times has the whole Welcome podcast talked about Scottie Barnes and his growth this season? I feel like we check in every 2 weeks. But of course, he's the franchise player. He's the most important piece, right? And this is what Bobby Webster, the GM, said about Scottie. Quote, the maturation of him on the court and off the court. He's clearly the emotional leader. Players follow him. There's a seriousness in which he's taken the game, and in speaking about what he's liked about his game. Obviously, it's the IQ that stands out. His pick and roll chemistry with Jakob, with Emmanuel quickly. That's something that's always stood out to him, is just like the ability to read the game that Scottie has had from day one. And of course, he's talked about, he didn't shy away from this. He said, quote, the shooting, we're not going to hide from it. He has to improve his shooting. We've been on with him. Lately, his hand has been bothering him, but we're going to push him as much as we can, because we think the threat of him shooting opens up a lot of the other things. His incredible driving, his incredible passing, his incredible around the rim, but we're going to keep focusing on his shooting. And I feel like that's exactly what I wanted to hear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to shy away from this idea. Don't want to abandon it. It's certainly something that's going to come up. His efficiency is going to come up. We could talk about all the tactical ways that can improve. We could maybe, obviously, it's ultimately on Scottie to improve all these things himself. But I actually really like that assessment from Bobby, because I totally agree. I think that there's other aspects of the game that, if you only look at the box score numbers, like, you're probably not going to see that improvement. But I've liked the dedication. I've liked the maturation of him as a leader, and I truly believe that was, for me, the bigger question mark. Not necessarily his performance, his ability to score and impact the game. It doesn't even matter to me if he's a number 2, number 3, or number 1. It doesn't matter to me. Like, it really doesn't. I feel like he's a guy who contributed towards winning, and it's that's going to be his end of the bargain more than anything else. So, yeah, appreciate Bob. Appreciate Bob for giving that little quote there. Yeah, let's just get a couple more, man. Let's get a couple more. Let's see here. No, this is a positive chat tonight, man. This is really nice. This one from Chuck. Bro, been listening to you since Raps Republic. I miss your big head this offseason. Yo, we'll still do shows, okay? This big head will be around talking and doing programs. So, again, don't forget, man. I mean, the Raptors season might be over. React pods, generally speaking, post-game are going to be over, but you'll still have shows, man. We'll make sure Jerome and Alex are quite busy no matter what. Another one here from Jimmy. Will, the community's proud of you. You bring us together after every game, and you, Alex, and Jerome have made this season more enjoyable, hanging out and having fun, because that's why we're still here. Honestly, that's kind of the space I wanted to create, man. I genuinely, it makes me smile in a real way, because like that was the goal. That really was the goal. It's more here from Jalen. Yo, well, I genuinely want you to know that I've watched every React pod live during. You legit have been so helpful in getting me through my first year of uni, and it's been fun watching after games. Yo, listen, man, university, first year especially, I mean, not that my experience is going to be like universal to everyone else. I'm sure people had great times in university, especially undergrad, but like, man, honestly, like that, it's not easy, man. It really isn't, going off on your own for the first time, dealing with like all the anxieties of like, I mean, I think probably I ask myself this question more than the average person, and it probably haunts me more than the average person, but it's like how much of what I should be and what expectations I put on myself and what expectations other people have on me. That was like at an all-time high, especially first and second year university. And there was so much like reinventing of yourself in a moment where it felt difficult to sort of hold on to what was important, hold on to what I felt truly to be myself. And I know a lot of people had like a very similar sense of anxiety, and I feel like the only way really that really combated that was like being grounded and talking to other friends about that experience and being open with it and sharing it and truly embracing the things that you enjoy. I mean, the hard part about university is you're paying a lot of money and you're having to make a decision of like, what are you actually going to do with your time and your future and, with that opportunity. And, I get asked this question a lot, mostly by, sports media students who want to eventually join the business and do some version of what I've done, or even just be employed in sports media in general. And I think the advice I usually give them is like, look, just really focus on what do you actually want to do? What do you actually like doing? And then just coming to peace with that and chasing that wholeheartedly. Even if it's not the thing that you should do, even not the thing that feels like it's the most, I don't know, like maybe it's not the thing your parents want you to do the most. Maybe it's not the most financially secure thing, but I think there's only so far in life that you can fight like not doing what you actually want. And the quicker you can embrace what you actually want, and finding some way to sort of achieve that, maybe in general, not just with school but in life, but you should try to go ahead and do that. But I mean, yeah, I appreciate you for tapping in after after every post game, and I'm happy we're able to keep you company in any way possible. Another one here. Actually, I like this one from Kyle. This is Will, not Raptors related, but in basketball in general, where would you rank this trade deadline among others? This is pretty memorable for trade deadline. I mean, when you have Luka getting traded for AD, like that's an all-time trade. Like I'm not kidding. Like when we look back, even 30, 40 years from now, I think this will still end up in like lists of like top 10 trades. I think there's like certainly crazier trades in the sense that like we've had trades that have affected the entire championship picture, like like Kareem getting traded from the Bucks to the Lakers. Man, if Alex was around, he would be clowning me for saying that. The number one trade that came off the top of my head was something from the 70s. We've obviously had like, these sensational trades, right? We've had, Shaq getting traded. That was a huge story. Or even the Kawhi trade. I don't think the Kawhi trade was on the level of the Luka trade in terms of just like how out of nowhere and everything, like because there was a huge buildup. But this one's an all-time trade, and it's going to be, this deadline's always going to remember it because it's truly a where were you when moment. And even now, like today, actually, Luka was back in Dallas for the first time. I thought it was really well done in terms of making the spectacle and capturing sort of the rawness of the emotions, because one of the things that comes with being traded, obviously in season, is that there's a high chance you'll see each other again in short notice, right? Like, I think back to the Norm trade, for example. The Raptors traded Norm to Portland, and then like within 2 days, Norm was back in Tampa playing the Raptors, but as a member of the Blazers. And so this wasn't that quick, but that trade only took place like about 2 months ago, and I think Luka's still adjusting. And you saw tonight when the Mavs showed the Luka Doncic tribute video, and they obviously handed out shirts to thank Luka and everything like that. You saw the emotions, you saw the tears flowing out of his eyes, man. Like it's not something that I think Luka will get over anytime soon. Even though his opportunity with the Lakers is great, he's playing on a better team. He's playing on a team that is in a bigger market. Everyone wants to play for the Lakers, so on and so forth. But emotionally, like he was wrapped up, man. He was wrapped up in wanting to be a Maverick for a long time, for a lifetime. He wanted to follow in the footsteps of Dirk, and you could see the genuine emotion come out of him. And tonight, I think he had what do you have, man? 45? We had 45. I mean, he had like a crazy game. I mean, honestly, crazy game, but for Luka, maybe even a common game. But yeah, he had 45 points to lead the Lakers into a win over Dallas in his homecoming. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, that's, man, like we're going to be talking about this trade forever. So honestly, this is probably like the craziest trade deadline I've ever seen. I don't even know another one that really comes close to this level of like upheaval that we've seen from a team. So yeah, I mean, I'll certainly remember this. And of course, that's not even considering the fact that other star level players were traded. Maybe not Luka level players, but like De'Aaron Fox was traded in this trade deadline. Brandon Ingram was traded in this trade deadline. Zach LaVine was traded in this trade deadline. Chris Middleton was traded from the Bucks to the to the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma, which I told you guys, man, Kuzma not a serious player. I don't know why any contending team should be getting him. With all due respect, you know what I mean? Like, Jimmy Butler got traded. Like it was a pretty crazy trade deadline. So I think this was probably for me like the most memorable one that we saw here. Oh man, we got money here too. Oh, here we go. $20 from Don Dada. They send in 20 and they just said, just wanted to say, appreciate all the hard work that you, Alex, and Jerome have put in this season. P.S. Still waiting on another trucker foam hat. We chopped it up at the Tangerine event. Matt from Milton. Yeah, I appreciate you, Matt. I remember you, of course. We talked last Sunday, and yes, I am in the process of getting the hat. I believe the hats are all with Alex, so next time I see Alex, we will do the dribble handoff, get the hat, and then we'll figure out how to get that one to you as well. But yeah, seriously, this is Anthony Davis. Right, that's right. Anthony Davis was also traded, going back the other way. So it's certainly a very memorable trade deadline. But yes, we will get you your hat, Matt, and I appreciate you for coming through and coming through to the Tangerine layup.
Thanks, Matt. That was really nice of you to say.
Whoa, Jerome, what's going on, buddy?
Just got home from the Raptor game. Just went for a beer over at Real Sports. RS. Hell yeah.
Where else would you have a beer? All right, that's it for
couple
questions.
Different places.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, Jerome, this is how many games have you actually attended this season?
Ooh, good question. I want to say this is maybe my third or fourth game. Yeah,
Okay.
as a fan. Yeah.
Give me your review of the Raptors in-game experience.
Oh, okay. I think the in-game experience. I mean, one thing that is really nice about going to this one is I think this is the first time I saw the throwback court, which is like it looks.
It's beautiful.
It looks beautiful. It's so nice in person.
By the way, the media members, we made sure to all get photos on that court. So
yeah. Did you share your photos yet?
I have not shared my photos because I don't actually pictures of myself on that thing. But
You didn't take a photo of yourself?
No, I had other people take photos. Oh, please, come on, Jerome. Are you, who are we
sorry,
kidding here?
You're right.
All we have are friends of photographers. I mean, yourself included.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah,
I need to
shout out my Hinge profile that is just like random photos taken. Honestly, Will, a photo you took of me. It was.
Oh
great photo.
yes.
Thank you
I
for
know
that.
what photo you're talking about. This is the court, by the way, that we were on today. This is a friend of the program, Nelcam. He's one of the Raptors official team photographer.
Nell's responsible for like some of the best photos of every one of us at any given moment.
Yeah. This is why honestly I didn't go live after the game. I just wanted a photo on the court with my friends.
As you deserve.
So hopefully, if I open my Instagram right now, did Jeremy send me those yet?
No, Jeremy needs to send you the high res on WhatsApp or somewhere else. He can't send you like through an Instagram DM. Yeah, you gotta get the proper ones.
Oh my God, we got Lindsay. Oh wow, there's a video. How do I show this? I don't know how to show this. There's a Lindsay tagged me on an Instagram story where.
Okay, I'll try to grab that for you. 1 second, please. This is why
I don't want to play my Instagram stories for the live audience.
Oh my God!
I already had one slip up, man.
You already had a slip on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go delete that. I won't delete that. I'm not even gonna. I'll text you afterwards.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Don't even want to reveal what
Sounds
happened.
good.
But I need to make a short edit in this episode later on the show.
Good. All right.
But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like, yeah. So yeah, you said the court was nice. What did you?
Court nice. I think here. Let me see if I can get this story for you.
Okay.
I'm working on that right now. How many photos do you need, Will Lou Fitz? Is it that one?
That's the one, yes.
Okay, 1 second, please. As I'm grabbing this. Oh my God, I can see you do the photo. This is so good. All right. We're getting there. We're so close. Thank you, everyone, for being patient with us.
That's all good, man.
Yeah.
I was just about to wrap out the show. For once, you've extended.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait.
How many photos is he making? Hey, come on.
You thought we were bad. Look at us.
Oh, yeah. How many photos is he making him take? Come on.
You're wearing the jacket inside out, too, man. This is great.
Yeah, reverse.
Yo, Jeremy, send me those photos, man. Come on, bro. Send me those photos, Jeremy.
No. Okay, so in-game experience. Yeah, I think it is. Keep in mind, like, I think I haven't gotten a chance to be a fan in forever because, like, I used to work for the team.
Right,
So
right.
I was just there mostly as just taking it in for work. So, and then other times as media. I mean, one thing that has been consistent, which is why, I mean, shout out, like, loop, like, earplugs. It was so loud.
Oh,
like,
it's
it felt
super
like
loud
it was
in the arena all the time.
like louder than I remember it being before.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think generally, like, all the programming is what it usually is. Like, getting to do the 30th anniversary stuff, I think really helps on that front. In terms of like, you're always gonna have like some sort of programming cameo, anything on that front. But yeah, the experience itself, it's different. Like, I think I was texting you at the beginning of the game. I'm just like, where is everyone? Like,
It's a late arriving crowd. We know that.
It's a late arriving crowd. I get that part. And yeah, I think like, I think there is this feeling, even like being up in the 300s, which is usually like where I am, like with one of my friends who has seasons. I just feel like the energy doesn't feel like how it used to be. It might be a product of new fans. It might be a product of pricing out. But I think
they're just not as competitive as before. I mean,
and they're not as competitive. Like,
yeah.
some of these games, like, it's hard to kind of build up that part to it. But I remember one of the games I forget who was the opponent, but there were like two young girls like in front of us, and they kept on looking around like, where's the energy? And they were right about it. You know, they're just like, they were as loud as they could possibly be.
Wow. Should have come up to Media Row and sat beside me, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite things. You are always energetic. But I think like to that end, yeah, like it is a bit of a different energy. I don't know if it's a generational shift. I don't know like what's happened. We also need to have a product on the court that isn't tanking, that isn't in flux, and like feels like it's kind of building towards something, so that we'd be able to like actually build the audience along with it, you know?
Right.
But no, all in all, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to, like, I would say like you and I and so many people in our positions are kind of past the point of no return of like, just from the perspective and the experiences that we've had, it's really hard to look at these things objectively from the eye of a fan. Like you and I have like joked about it at times, but I think like we made comments of like, wow, people are super excited to try to win this Tangerine contest for like Hornets, like Raptors Hornets. But at the same time too, like this is a big deal. I think man. It's fun. I think, yeah, ultimately it's like, maybe it's the case and maybe that's just something we're more cognizant of, but like all these things are always worth it because of, you want more of it, but like there's so many people that just, it's such a genuinely great experience for them. And I think that's always important. Yeah.
No, I think for me, my parents never took me to a Raptor game. Like this is like back when Raptor games were more like cheaper than certainly are now. But
yeah,
like I don't know, I just never really asked my parents for like anything that was like I felt was frivolous. Like I kind of just knew that like we were just like we grew up kind of tight. You know what I mean? Like financially. So I was like like the version was like, yo, like if we bought juice this week, it was kind of tight. It was just like always a core memory I had as like being an immigrant for the first time. You know, a sign of prosperity is whether or not we have juice in the house, which is kind of nuts in thinking back. But the first time I ever went to a Raptor game, like I just became a Raptor fan on my own. Like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like the idea was passed down to me. Like I just remember being on the playground.
I think culturally it's always been treated as like that's a real luxury to go to a Raptor game.
No, it's the ultimate luxury.
Like
man,
regardless of like income, wealth. Like I think like I was pretty fortunate growing up, but I don't even think my parents ever thought of that as a worthwhile purchase.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So I think for me it was like, okay, I'm gonna become a big fan of the Raptors, and I think that it wasn't until I was like probably 18 or 19 years old, where you know, I think I was in a relationship at the time, and then I kind of wanted to go as a date. So I was like, okay, I actually have the incentive to actually physically go and enjoy this thing that, you know, I've been a fan of at that point for like, you know, 7-8 years by that point. And like my first ever game was like Raptors Kings, and it was like I'm not kidding you. I bought 2 tickets for $10. Like and it was like, you know, basically Sprite Zone level tickets. And like back then, like every game was Raptors Hornets. Like trust me, man. What I saw in that game was like Leandro Barbosa was in that game, and like you know, freaking, you know, it was still like some Sonny Weems, some DeMar DeRozan, some God, I don't even know, Ed Davis maybe, like that kind of range of like a bad team against a Kings team, which the Kings have always been bad. I mean, like you could say Tyreek Evans on the other side, but like it wasn't like people were banging on the doors to watch Tyreek Evans. I still remember that game super vividly though, because it was like such a cool experience to like see it from like, okay, this is something I used to listen to on the radio. It's something I used to watch obviously on TV. I mean, I even got like illegal streams and stuff like that. Like that was my high university era, and like going in the building for the first time really was like, I don't know, it was just like so invigorating. And I remember like being the loudest person in my section. You know what I mean? I remember like I thought that was like what people did in games, and it wasn't necessarily this case. Some people would just be like, "Yo, sit down," like, you know, shut up. Maybe start a podcast or something. If you
one thing is pretty consistent regardless is, especially in lower bowl situations, is there are always going to be people who can afford to be there, and with that privilege aren't necessarily fans of it as much as they're paying for like the experience or like the status of being there.
I mean, it certainly is a place where you're going to get seen, you know what I mean? Like there's certainly a lot of that nowadays.
But I think the thing that you're tapping into, which is like Obviously, high-end ticket prices at any of these events will always be the case. But like you mentioned that $10 ticket, there's something about the idea too, like of being able to do it that where the amount that you're paying for it informs the experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think to that end, it's just like, yeah, you're not complaining about Raptors Hornets if you're paying $10 for it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I mean, I'm happy you had a good time.
I also was happy to go because I finally got to wear this like Peace Collective item that was sent to me, which is really nice. Shout out Peace Collective.
This is a really nice jacket.
Got a lot of compliments on it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
You and Alex have worn your Peace Collective items at like various occasions on previous episodes. Yeah.
Yes, we have done that.
Yeah. I got to meet our person who sent us this stuff like at the game, which was really cool too.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm trying to find this Raptors Kings game now. Because I swear, I think it was 11-12 season. Hold on.
Right. I remember like going to some games like before where it was like a friend's like family friend had seasons, and back in those days like they had like seasons for like 4 seats. So like we came to a game where it was like me and a friend, and then there'd be like 2 other people who like we didn't really know but were also there. But yeah, it was just like really fun, like just getting to be down there. I do remember a memory of like then they were called, before they were the Northside Crew, they were the Raptors Dance Pack, but the Dance Pack were dancing in front of us. And I remember having this moment where I was like, oh, cool, they're dancing in front of us. And then I'm looking on the screen like, oh, cool, they're on the screen dancing. And I finally like put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, oh, I'm on the screen right now. Like that was like really exciting.
That's
and
awesome,
so,
man.
Yeah, which was really cool. Those always were great moments. But then there's like, it just became this like thing of privilege where once I started working for MLSC, I just like text the person. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be sitting here, put me on the screen. Like just that, like
yeah.
Or
honestly,
like
we are so pampered now when we go to
so
an arena. Like we get every experience possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's really nice to. Oh, here we go.
I have found this game. Okay, this is.
All right, zoom in.
You got to really zoom in on. How do I zoom in on this?
Zoom in like you would zoom on a browser.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the game. Raptors lost 98-91. This was January 11th, so in winter. I remember this.
Sure.
The starters for
Garcia.
This is who I was paying $10 to go see. Okay,
JJ
the Sacramento Kings.
Jimmer?
Tyreek Evans, DeMarcus Cousins, John Salmons, future Raptor.
Yeah.
Jimmer
so this
Fredette.
is before he becomes a Raptor.
Yeah, this is 20. This is 2012. This is 2011-2012 season. JJ Hickson, that's the starting 5 with Dante Green.
Rebounds for a 21-19 game from DeMarcus Cousins.
I mean,
and he wasn't even the high scorer.
That,
that's crazy.
He was like that. Dante Green, Isaiah Thomas. This is before he broke out, but I think he was like the 59th or 60th pick. Francisco Garcia, and then Jason Thompson, who ultimately went on to become member of the Toronto Raptors. Chuck Hayes did not dress, but he also goes on to be a Raptor. This is a team that beat the Raptors. They got 98 points. This is the Raptors lineup from that game. Jose Calderon, DeMar DeRozan, Andrea Bargnani, Amir Johnson, Rasul Butler, with James Johnson, Leandro Barbosa, Anthony Carter, Linus Kleza, Ed Davis, and Jamal McGlure coming off the bench. I mean, God
there's something
damn,
that's
$10 well spent, baby.
$10 well spent, but also there's something very funny about this time when you're younger and you just know everyone on the team and everyone's important on the team, where like so many of these names, if we were talking about this now, we'd be like, they're playing fucking Ed Davis. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just this, like, there's obviously like a change of like how we approach and like look at this, you know what I mean? Which is kind of like crazy to think about now. Like Jared Bayless didn't dress. Like
Jared Bayless didn't dress. Gary Forbes did not play, you know? This is killing me, man. Bargnani, 2 of 13 from the field.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
seriously,
I was really excited about Leandro Barbosa.
Oh, my God. Me too. Because everyone watched Steve Nash in Canada. Like, everybody watched Steve Nash in Canada.
Right.
And so everyone knew about the Blur and, he was a 6th man of the year and things like that. By the time the Raptors got him, I mean, the Raptors got him because they wanted to salary dump Hito Turkoglu, I'm pretty sure. because that was a bad signing. So they got Leandro Barbosa, who wasn't even that good. And I remember that season the Raptors gave Barbosa like a crazy amount of usage. Don't ask me why I've actually clicked through Anthony Carter's player page. I'm a sicko like that. I've looked at Anthony Carter's player page. His son, by the way, now plays for the Kings. Shouts to Devin Carter, but who we did see at a consignment shop in Vegas. I don't know if you remember.
I don't. I remember you pointing out someone and being like, oh, all right.
I'm like, yo, that guy plays for the Kings. He just got drafted. You guys are like, cool. I'm gonna look at these Kobe's.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. But yeah, they gave Leandro like a crazy amount of usage. I think they were trying to pump up his value so that they could potentially flip him. And I think after giving him, like, I'm not even kidding, I think his usage rate was like close to like, it was like between 25 and 30%, which is really high for any player, especially when he got to Toronto, he was older. Right. And the Raptors traded him, I believe, for a top 55 protected pick, which is basically nothing.
Okay, I have something to share.
His usage rate, here you go, in Toronto, 28% that season.
That's crazy. I have something to share in the spirit of Leandro Barbosa.
Okay.
So, as you know, like when you're walking through Scotiabank Arena, like you go anywhere and you'll see like all these like hung up photos of like former Raptors players, former personalities, people who have passed through. And as you also know, like those get rotated in and out. So when I was interning at MLSC, they were getting rid of like a bunch of like those kind of like larger posters that like they're just gonna throw them out, or like interns could just take, like people could just take them.
Okay.
So I'm like, so anyone can just have this large Leandro Barbosa photo, and they're like, sure. And one of my friends, like really good friends, he was like such a 7 seconds or less fan. Like he was so hyped about Leandro Barbosa. So I was like, I gotta get it for him. So here's me. Let me see if I can get this in. Riding the TTC back home with my gigantic, coming off my internship shift with the giant Leandro Barbosa. Like those are the days, man. You know,
those were the days. I'm telling you, man. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know people are like, you know what, we're gonna tap out in the season. I mean, again, totally understandable decision, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, I don't need you to. I'm not saying you're not a real fan if you don't watch Raptors Hornets, but like, there's been a lot of seasons like this, man. There's been a lot of seasons like this. You know, and you just gotta learn how to love and appreciate each moment as it comes.
Honestly, watch the Open Gym episode, the one on the 2010s. Like the way they go across, like, from where they started in 2010 to like winning the championship there. It's just like it took a good amount of time and a good amount of tries and a whole bunch of different players coming through to figure out something that actually worked.
Yeah, and I think honestly, them winning the championship like allows us to like properly love and contextualize that moment. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like I don't even like back then I probably disliked Andrea. I don't have any ill feelings towards Andrea anymore. That was just something from the past. You know what I mean? And I guess we went through the dark days. Anyway, I don't know. Raptors win tonight, so that's it. Appreciate you for hopping on the pod, Jerome. Is there?
Did you already do your 3 stars?
I'm about to do a 3 stars right now. By the way, San Antonio. So San Antonio's just playing Golden State right now. They're somehow going to overtime with. No, wait. San Antonio hit a game winner. Is that? Am I seeing this right? I think with this win for San Antonio, I think that clinches the Raptors as the 7th best lottery odds.
Oh, that locks us in at that point.
Yeah. So I think this is good because now the Raptors can actually just play the last 2 games of the season. If they win, we don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, like, I don't know that I was particularly worried about that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Will the Raptors play their games like in full? Yeah.
Sorry, maybe honestly, maybe I'm the only person that's actually still like worried about the lottery odds. But I mean, I guess I wasn't even that worried anyway. But
wait, have we done a tankathon?
I guess no, we haven't. No, we haven't. So this is actually perfect. This is actually perfect. But anyway, to conclude at least this game,
do your
3 stars from this performance that will go down in Raptors history here. Your first star is Jonathan Mogbo. Big shouts to JMO for a triple-double performance. As Darko pointed out, this is actually the first triple-double by any rookie from this year's class. And that is truly impressive. 17, 10, and 11 with 3 steals for Mogbo. Your second star, I'm going to give that to Gerald Rhoden. I thought he played really well. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists for Jared. And then your third star, I'll give it to Scottie. Scottie knocked down some threes tonight. Was aggressive, played within the flow. I thought he played well. 17 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 of 5 from 3. Keep working on the 3, Scottie. We're not going to give up on it. And more than anything else, the franchise is, hinges on it. So, we got to keep working on it. But ultimately, he had a good game here. Tonight, your Gerald Henderson Award winner for who randomly torched the Raptors. Out of principle, I can't give it a use of Nurkic. I do not respect hoopers in tees. That is my look at pickup because I'm out of shape. That does not mean that you should be wearing that as a professional basketball player. So I'm going to give it to Nick Smith Jr. Before the game, Nick Smith Jr., so his warm-up look was a do-rag and AirPods. I was like, yo, he's ready to hoop, man.
That's almost you after the hoop run.
Let's not reveal everything, Jerome, on this show. But yeah, that thing killed me, man. I was like, yo, this guy definitely was hooping. So shout out to Nick Smith Jr. But he had 28 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. April basketball, about as fake as any basketball out there. But ultimately, congrats to these people for playing a relatively entertaining game between the Raptors and the Hornets. And then finally, of course, we are going to do one more roll on the night. So Jerome, can you please load up tankathon.com, especially because the San Antonio Spurs, with their win tonight, with Harrison Barnes hitting a 3 against the Golden State Warriors, revenge of Harrison Barnes against the Warriors. But that means the Spurs have now actually put themselves out of range for the Raptors to potentially slip down from 7th to 8th. So Raptors are officially locked in to the 7th odds on the season. So whether they win the last 2 or lose the last 2, it doesn't really matter. And the odds are what they are for the Toronto Raptors. And Jerome, you are on tankathon.com right now.
I am. All right.
I
We're
think
going to
so.
sim right now. No, we dropped 8.
No, goodness. In this edition, Portland jumps up to the number 1 overall pick.
That's
Philadelphia, their shameless tank gets rewarded. They're now second.
Boo.
Brooklyn jumps up as well. They're third. Utah drops to 4th, which would be hilarious given how hard Utah tanked all season.
That's tough.
And then as a result of this, the Raptors are drafting 8th. So that's fun. That's fun.
Oh, goodness.
Can't wait for months of conversation of, do you want Malawak or do you want Derek Queen or do you want Fears or do you want Kasparis? I mean, it's
We should just do like
God
a
damn it.
Malawak Queen like check-in with you. Just like, who are you feeling more today? And that's it. Like, just single answer. You don't have to explain why.
I mean, honestly, the thing with Queen is he didn't have 0 rebounds in the biggest game of his life. So honestly, I feel like that was the one damning stat that like killed anybody's
More so than the
stock.
scoring. Yeah.
And I hate that because, again, not only the circumstances that surrounded it, which were entirely like serious and outside of Kaman's control, but
It really
it's
has
just
the energy of you were hired for one job.
no, but it's just that one thing. People tune in for that one game. It was the most memorable loss in Duke history. Well, not Duke history, but recent Duke history.
Sure, yeah.
And then, like, the one thing people are going to point to, and it's such a gotcha, it's such an easy catch-on, it's just he didn't get any rebounds. It's like,
Yeah.
the game's more about whether or not he got a rebound, man. So, yeah, I mean, he got bigger issues than that, so. But right now, I'm probably leading. I'm still leading Malawak, actually.
Malawak? I want that Queen Raptor jersey.
Hey, man, Queen will be tough. Queen will be tough. Fears will be tough. 0 Fears. Nobody on the Raptors wearing 0 right now, I think. Maybe AJ Lawson, but anyway, that's the pod. Thanks everyone for listening. Jerome, appreciate you ducking in here at the end. And of course, we'll be back actually tomorrow. We're going to go live tomorrow at noon. So skip your, if you're working, if you're having a lunch break, if you're just trying to just hang out and just, avoid life for a bit, me, Alex, and Jerome will be back here tomorrow at noon. And we'll talk to you and hang out then. So thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate everyone for listening. This has been the Hello Welcome Podcast presented by Betway, and we'll catch you tomorrow.